Hello, my name is Karen Heyer, and welcome to my presentation. In my presentation, I will be discussing the topic of philosophy of multicultural and urban education, subtitled My Cultural Autobiography and Philosophy on Multicultural Education within the Urban Diasporas. It is evident that the multicultural populations in urban diasporas continue to face the ongoing challenge of optimum education in urban schools. Why is this? The lacking or deprivation of school equipment and relevant resources, as well as staff of well-supported educators and high-quality curriculum instructions and implementations in urban schools is a real issue that seems to stem from cultural and social class implicit biases. Culture is a very pivotal factor in education and an influence in the school arena. My best teaching practices are influenced by my cultural autobiography, which shapes my philosophy on multicultural and urban education. In this presentation, I will discuss the following to show how. And first bulletin is urban and multicultural education, the exploration of two multicultural facets, the multicultural education philosophy, and of course the FEAP practices. One may ask, what are the issues in urban and multicultural education? What's going on? Well, urban and multicultural education is a diversity of minority population of students, typically Black and Latinos, and of course the lowest economic class within a largely densely population or populated cities, according to Watson 2022. Some urban schools may be supported by quality and effective programs. However, because of the stigmas on them, they are looked down upon, and so parents push to enroll in suburban schools in search of best quality education. And this I had discussed in a previous assignment on the discussion board. Watson also stated that some educators associated the word urban with minority groups, as well as their characteristics and social class. So, for example, the way how a minority speaks, their accent, the choice of words, the dialects, and so on. Therefore, the definition ripples beyond geographic ranges and into more physical attributes and characteristics of a person or population. So prior to this study, when I hear the word urban, I connect it with a densely populated city. So during this study, I learned that it is beyond that, which associates, like I mentioned, the physical attributes of a person and their language and dialect and so on and so forth. Two of the multicultural facets that I've explored are ethnicity and language. Regarding ethnicity, I discovered that there are 5 stages, and Banks discussed these stages briefly. Stage number 1 talks about ethnic psychological captivity. At this stage, he discussed self-rejection and low self-esteem. Stage number 2, ethnic encapsulation. At this stage, he discussed superiority and exclusiveness from other ethnic groups. Stage number 2, ethnic identity clarification. At this stage, he discussed positive attitude towards self and others, self-awareness, confidence, and acceptance. Stage number 4 talks about by ethnicity. At this stage, individuals exhibit strong confidence in their identity with positive and effective functioning in two ethnic cultures. Stage number 5, multi-ethnicity. This stage discusses individuals who are able to function positively and effectively among several cultures with understanding and appreciation for values, perceptions, feelings, practices, and other cultural or ethnic factors outside of their own. If I understand it correctly, I am at stage 5. How did I get here? Is it gradually? I don't believe so, because I believe that I am currently at this stage of multi-ethnicity, because at this stage I am able to confidently, positively, and effectively communicate and interact with multiple ethnic groups. I can confidently say this based on my cultural experience. I am from the island of Jamaica, whereas there's a diversity of ethnic groups and races, and even though there are different races, we share the same cultural background. With such a diversity, I do, understand what it feels like or what it means to interact and to be around different people, different culture. And even in my family, there is a diversity of races. But of course, with the majority of the Jamaican population being black. So that's why I can confidently say that I'm at stage 5. And also, within my work environment, there's a diversity of cultures and ethnic backgrounds. With that being said, I've never had an issue to socialize or interact with populations or groups outside of my race. I am able to communicate and to relate to any group and any people. So that's why I believe that I am at stage 5. Language is a very crucial part of anyone's cultural or ethnic background because of the significance of communication. So, every culture or ethnic population has their own tongue and own dialect. So, from what and how do they derive? Okay, based on the history of my faith, original language, from what I have learned, being in my faith, is the Hebrew language. That's the first language on earth, from which all other languages have derived and broken down into dialects and so on. When and where do we use these cultural languages? Okay, so in a diverse society or a country, town or city where there's a diversity, or even schools or other organizations where there's a diversity of populations, of course you're going to be hearing different languages, different tongues, different dialects, and so on and so forth. However, I was taught that in my earlier educational years, using your dialect or language in an environment, whereas whomever you're communicating with are the only ones understanding each other, is kind of a rude gesture. It's not polite, and it's not accepted and nor appreciated. I can understand that, because you will want others to understand you, and to, even though you are not referring to other people around you or speaking to them, rather. So the parties that are communicating understand and knows the common language, which is usually English language. They have a native language as well. Well, the original language is in my country, in Jamaica, is English, as we were ruled under the British colony. However, we have a dialect that's derived from a mixture of African, French, broken English, standard English, and I think there's one more. I don't remember. There's another. And together, that language, that dialect is called Patois. And from what I've heard so far, it is now a part of the curriculum in Harvard University. So that's my my understanding on where, when, and how to use your cultural language outside of your community or your population. What does this mean in an educational arena? Okay, so oftentimes I will have kids in my class that speaks only their native language, and parents will say to me, you know, this is the only language the child knows, as this is what we speak at home, so on and so forth. So basically, I will kind of embed words that I know or am affiliated with in the curriculum, in activities, whereas the child can feel comfortable or feel welcome or feel that their value, their language is being valued, and so on and so forth. Our curriculum is actually dual language, English and Spanish. So I am able to implement my curriculum to accommodate all age. A diversity of students or of the student population. Well, two. That's English and English and Spanish, so to speak. All right. What does this mean? Okay. Why do I choose this facet? I chose this facet because it is an important, a very, very significant part of anyone's culture. What is the significance of multicultural education? Well, I would say it supports cultural relevance in schools, curriculum and lesson facilitation, learning and connecting with students, using their, cultural components like or facets such as their language, their customs and practices, and so on. Also, it supports cultural intelligence. So these are, very significant factors that why multicultural education is important. Next up is FEAP practices. Based on my understanding from viewing and analyzing the chart provided in the assignment, the Florida Educator accomplished practices, FEAPs, are the standards highlighting Florida's educators' skill and achieved performance levels and areas of improvement to ensure best practices in teaching. I plan on meeting each of the 4 Florida Educator accomplished practices in my teaching by following these standards, so meeting these standards. Standard 2C, conveying high expectations to all my students, giving clear expectations in classroom management and behavioral management. Standard 2, respecting children's cultural and linguistic background and established classroom culture. Standard 5D, collaborative effort with school, home, and with the community, with effective, feasible, and relevant communication methods. Standard C, classroom environment, creating a positive classroom climate, and making sure that the classroom is welcoming and to a point where everyone feels valued, respected, and loved and appreciated. Standard C, classroom environment. So I'm so sorry. Coalition policies, code of ethics, standards, and teacher students' responsibilities and routine. That is to making sure that I follow the DCF standards, Department of Education, state and coalition standards, making sure that I'm able to apply and to exhibit these standards for a safe and impacting learning environment. Conclusion. In the urban diasporas, multicultural populations struggle to achieve high quality education in schools due to limited resources and poor quality of teaching, as schools and educators are not receiving enough support due to the stigma placed on minority populations. This calls for a game changer, and as educators, some key factors need to be considered to push for changes are: cultural relevance in education, identify and connect with multicultural populations, create a multicultural, multifaceted learning environment, multicultural philosophy, highlighting educational purposes, goals, and outcomes, as well as to meet the standards and expectation of the FEAP. In closing, regardless of the lack of support in urban education caused by the attached stigmas and connotations, a collaborative effort of work with all affiliating stakeholders, such as school leaders and educators, parents and families, and community individuals and organizations, with a strategic plan, can definitely change the game in support of all children in the urban diasporas. And this page, our slide, highlights the references used in the study. We have come to the end of this presentation. I really hope that I brought clarity and understanding to what I have presented. And thank you.